The ultimate defeat of Queen Camilla did not happen in the pages of a tabloid, nor did it occur during a dramatic screaming match in a palace drawing room. It happened in the dead of night, signaled by the quiet flat beep of an electronic keypad turning red. Standing in front of the heavy, reinforced archival doors, deep within the private corridors of Windsor Castle, she swiped her elite security card, fully expecting the ancient modernized locks to disengage as they always had. Instead, access was firmly mechanically denied. What Camilla just realized in that chilling, dimly lit hallway is that her absolute power was an illusion, and the true heirs of the British monarchy had just permanently locked her out of the kingdom's most precious vault. This is the story of the empty vault. In this video, we will unpack the highly classified administrative maneuver Camilla attempted behind closed doors, aiming to secure permanent discretionary control over some of the crown's most fiercely guarded archival deeds and royal jewelry. We will explore how Prince William and Princess Anne uncovered the hidden paper trail of her ambition. We will reveal the silent, ruthless institutional retaliation that followed, the profound visual humiliation of a locked door, and the devastating realization that Camilla actually owns nothing. This is not a story about petty jewelry disputes or palace gossip. It is a deeply analytical look at the weaponization of administrative protocol, moral outrage, and the surgical dismantling of a 30-year illusion of power. To understand the sheer magnitude of this institutional shockwave, we must first look at the untouchable fortress Camilla believes she had constructed. For 30 years, she played the most calculated, patient, and resilient game in modern royal history. She survived the immense public outrage following the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales, slowly maneuvering herself from the shadows of a deeply damaging scandal into the highest echelon of the British establishment. When King Charles finally ascended the throne, Camilla's victory seemed absolute and irreversible. She had successfully orchestrated a staggering institutional erasure, quietly replacing Diana's lingering legacy with her own carefully curated narrative. During the early days of Charles's reign, Camilla operated with the confidence of a monarch who believed she held the ultimate leverage. She seamlessly integrated her inner circle into the royal machinery, treating the ancient palaces not as temporary residences belonging to the state, but as permanent acquisitions for her extended family. She began moving portraits of her own ancestors out of private storage and into the prominent drawing rooms of royal residences. The crown's vast, unfathomable resources appeared to be at her limitless disposal. She firmly believed she had Charles completely managed her critics, effectively silenced, and her absolute authority secured. This ambition stood in stark, jarring contrast to Catherine, Princess of Wales. Catherine has spent years enduring relentless public scrutiny, defining her royal tenure through uncomplaining sacrifice, quiet dignity, and a profound respect for the institution. Catherine understood from the very beginning that royal power is earned through duty, not acquired through proximity. Camilla, however, operated under a deeply flawed assumption. She believed that by controlling the king, she owned the kingdom. It was an intoxicating illusion of power, but it was exactly that, a fragile, temporary illusion masking a severe underlying commercial desperation. The architecture of royal wealth and historical artifacts is deeply complex, designed over centuries to protect the bloodline and preserve the institution against outsiders. The royal collection, which includes priceless works of art, archival documents, and historic heirloom jewelry, does not belong to the reigning monarch personally. It is held in trust for the nation and for the future of the crown. And that detail matters because that is where the story changes. The turning point in this silent warfare was a secret power grab targeting the physical manifestation of the monarchy's history, the royal vaults. What appears to be true based on highly credible leaks from palace insiders and subsequent shifts in security protocol is that Camilla attempted to alter the access deeds and inventory management of the sovereign's private vaults at Windsor and Clarence House. She reportedly sought to merge her own private collection's administrative access with the Crown's restricted archives. The ultimate goal was to gain discretionary gatekeeping power over the inventory specifically, targeting the historic pieces of jewelry once closely associated with the late Princess Diana. This was not merely about wanting to wear beautiful diamonds, it was a calculated move to dictate what Catherine could access, thereby asserting absolute dominance over the visual representation of the monarchy. It was an attempt to rewrite history by controlling the artifacts that defined it, but the paper trail of the British monarchy is overseen by individuals fiercely loyal to the institution's permanence, not its temporary occupants. The secret requisition forms and administrative updates did not go unnoticed. They were quietly flagged and brought directly to the attention of Prince William. William's grief for his mother has always been silent, enduring, and fiercely protective. Unlike his younger brother, William does not write tell-all books or give explosive television interviews to air his grievances. He understands that in the highest corridors of power, true revenge is administrative. Princess Anne, known universally as the royal family's most formidable and uncompromising enforcer of rules, fully supported the immediate neutralization of this threat. Anne views the exploitation of the crown's heritage for personal leverage with icy disdain. For both William and Anne Camilla's attempt to gatekeep the royal vaults was a profound moral outrage. It was a direct attack on Catherine's rightful place and a staggering overreach that threatened the sanctity of the bloodline's heritage. They did not demand that Camilla be publicly reprimanded. They did not leak angry stories to the press. Instead, they executed a silent institutional retaliation with forensic accuracy. Operating under the guise of a routine system-wide security modernization for high-value archival assets, William ordered a complete overhaul of the electronic locking matrix. Overnight, the encrypted access codes, biometric scanners, and digital master keys for all high-security vaults at Windsor Castle and Clarence House were entirely replaced. The administrative access lists were rigorously purged, strictly limiting entry to the sovereign, the heir, and the designated master of the household. Camilla's name and the bespoke access privileges she had quietly arranged for herself were surgically removed from the system. The trap snapped shut precisely when she attempted to exercise her assumed authority. Approaching the heavy vault doors to retrieve or manage the inventory, Camilla found herself facing a flashing red light. The physical humiliation of standing before a locked door in a palace where she was crowned queen was a devastating psychological blow. It was the physical proof that her immunity was gone. She was not the gatekeeper. She was a guest whose clearance had just been revoked. The realization of this quiet strangulation sent a shockwave of panic through her. The sudden chilling awareness that she was institutionally cornered and locked out of the very empire she thought she ruled triggered a frantic response. She realized that William did not need to raise his voice to break her power. He only needed to control the security mainframe. He had successfully drawn a hard line in the sand, protecting the legacy of his mother and the future of his wife. But the climax of this high-stakes power struggle had not yet been reached. Furious, humiliated, and desperate to reassert her dominance, Camilla immediately turned away from the locked vault and marched toward the king's private study. She fully expected Charles to unleash his sovereign fury on William, to demand respect for his wife, and to instantly restore her endless access. But when she opened the door and demanded his intervention, she was met with a terrifying contradiction that changes the reading of everything. The devastating truth arrived not with a royal decree, but with the heavy, unyielding silence of the king himself. When Camilla stood in the private study, demanding that Charles invoke his sovereign authority to override the locked vaults and discipline his son, she expected the blind, unwavering protection that had defined their relationship for decades. Instead, King Charles remained entirely still. He did not reach for his phone. He did not summon the Prince of Wales for a furious reprimand. He simply looked at the woman he had torn the British establishment apart to marry, and he did nothing. Faced with a flawless, legally sound administrative audit executed by the heir to the throne, Charles chose the survival of the institution over the demands of his wife. He understood what Camilla had failed to grasp, to challenge William's legitimate. Protection of the crown's heritage would ignite a catastrophic internal war. In that profound, heavy silence, Camilla learned that the king's personal devotion could never outrank the constitutional permanence of the bloodline. This psychological climax permanently altered the reality of Camilla's position, exposing the raw nerve of her commercial desperation. To the outside world, she appeared draped in the spoils of victory, wearing historic diamonds and holding the highest title in the land. But stripped of the king's absolute intervention, the truth of her financial and institutional isolation was glaring. She does not own the royal vaults. She does not possess the deeds to the archives. She has no legal claim to the generational wealth stored beneath Windsor Castle. If Charles were to pass away, her access to the physical manifestations of royal power would vanish instantly. The locked door was not just a temporary inconvenience, it was a terrifying preview of her future. It was the undeniable proof that outside of her marriage certificate, she held absolutely no leverage against the cold bureaucratic machinery of the state. As the realization of her artificial empire settled in the true architecture of the monarchy, re-emerged under William's silent direction, The neutralization of Camilla's backdoor influence naturally paved the way for a quiet but profound restoration of the rightful order. The historical weight of the crown shifted back to where it constitutionally belonged. For years, Camilla had attempted a systematic institutional erasure of Diana's legacy, hoping to dictate the visual narrative of the monarchy by controlling its most precious artifacts. But William's administrative strike stopped that erasure dead in its tracks. The vaults were secured not merely to punish a stepmother, but to protect the heritage of a mother. The ultimate contrast in this new royal landscape is found in Catherine, Princess of Wales. Catherine has never needed to manipulate security logs, alter inventory deeds, or fight for administrative access to the crown's jewels. Her position is unassailable. When Catherine stepped out at a subsequent state event, wearing a heavily guarded, iconic piece of jewellery once favoured by the late Princess of Wales, it was not an act of petty revenge. It was a profound, devastatingly clear visual statement of continuity. It signalled to the world and to the inner court that the true historical and emotional inheritance of the family had been secured. Catherine's quiet dignity and uncomplaining sacrifice have cemented her as the authentic anchor of the monarchy's future. She wears the history of the crown organically, while Camilla is reduced to a temporary custodian whose access can be revoked with the press of a button. Princess Anne's involvement in this reckoning added a layer of absolute terrifying finality to Camilla's defeat. As the hardest working member of the family and the ultimate guardian of the crown's integrity, Anne views the exploitation of royal heritage with icy disdain. Her unwavering support for William's security overhaul signaled to the entire palace network that this was not a generational feud but a unified institutional correction. Together, the Prince of Wales and the Princess Royal presented a fortified wall of constitutional authority that entirely neutralized Camilla's influence. They proved that while personal ambition can manipulate a man, it can never conquer an ancient institution. The story of the empty vault is a defining moment in modern royal history. It is the moment the illusion of absolute power was pierced by the cold, unyielding reality of administrative truth. By simply upgrading a security system and enforcing the rules as they were written, Prince William dismantled a 30-year campaign of infiltration without ever raising his voice. He demonstrated that true power does not need to shout demand or throw tantrums. True power simply audits, secures, and locks the door. Camilla's profound visual humiliation in that dimly lit corridor was the physical manifestation of an undeniable reality. The monarchy will always protect its bloodline, and a crown acquired through manipulation can never truly be owned. What are your thoughts on Prince William and Princess Anne's silent but devastating strategy to protect the royal vaults? Share your perspective in the comments below, and please subscribe for more forensic analysis of the British royal family.